out. Now, they came back against FunPlus Phoenix, and they slaughtered them. It was not close, despite the fact that we built up that matchup. They just ran away with it. So, I'm still looking away at the series now and the recent form of BLG, and I'm thinking that this team is looking very much like the dominant team of the LPL. I think we have good data on the page now for that. Of course, regular season and playoffs, there's a bit of a difference between them, and you won't want to hit any late game or late season stumbles, even against teams, which have struggled a little bit, like Ultra Prime. LPL has a weird way of even top teams dropping random games about the place to some unlikely contenders.
Yeah. And teams like BLG and Top Esports are the teams you would think of when it comes to dropping random games. Both of them currently 100% win rate when ahead at 15 minutes. And I mean, BLG, like one of the two teams with 100% win rate when they're ahead at 15 still. They haven't thrown a single game when they've got that lead. But also, their average goal difference at 15 minutes is the best in the league. It's almost 2,000 gold on average. It's 1,867 as their average gold lead at 15 minutes. And they, on average, have at least 5 kills in the first 15 minutes. So, yeah. They like a scrap too.
That's so good to see as well. So one of the big talking points we had from the first few weeks of LPL this year was how slow the LPL had gotten. We had slowed down on average by about 3 minutes. It started to kick up again, and I'm glad for it. It's made the league more exciting. It's made our top teams feel a lot more decisive, and our confidence in them does start to grow. Game 1, though, started draft going through, and we'll start. See what's going to hit that ban list. Is Kindred going to be taken away early? That's been a big ban against Shun. Lots of different options here.
I'm really, really curious how much things change in the draft today. 14.5, our first official draft on the patch, as its mid lane is being taken away. Although Tristana, honestly, I think we've seen it almost more than mid this split, or at least in the last couple of weeks. And the Nico taken away from Yokai as well. But AD carries being taken off by Ultra Prime. Sen is still available, Smolder still available, but importantly as well, Karma still available. So lots of first pickable champs.
Smolder is still banned here on red side by Ultra Prime, I think, again. While the changes to Smolder on this patch can affect him as a champion, particularly the Q has changed a lot of that burn, but it's kind of been shifted around in power on this patch. It's still worthy of a ban. The Karma first pick, though, for BLG, that allows you to lock in any kind of AD carry, just have an extra facilitator from the mid lane for it.
It's Lucian. It's got to be Lucian, right? Lucian's not been banned. BLG, pretty much every time it's not banned, are willing to snap that Lucian up. Milio available for them too, up against this Rakan if they want to go for that one. Also, Nami could be an option. We have seen more Nami sneaking in once again. Higher bird damage alongside the Lucian.
And now you have Karma, Lucian, Nami, all one-item spiking champions, which are going to absolutely shred Ultra Prime if they don't keep an eye on what's happening around the early game and into that one-item lead. Already, for me, I feel bad for Ultra Prime here because we said, hey, the early game is going to be very dangerous for you against BLG. This draft is screaming BLG, stomping early game and never letting go of a lead. They've locked in the way, which can scale up pretty well and nullify some laning phases. Karma plays quite a well-studied matchup at this point, where both of them tend to just farm up. You need to start seeing some early game angles for Ultra Prime. The Shinsei and the Rakan are pretty okay at playmaking, but I feel as soon as the one item is hit, again, BLG have the advantage.
So now bans coming up through. It's the follow bear taken off the board again. We've started to see that sneak in a little bit on 14.4, now on 14.5. We are flying through the patches here in LPL, but it is going to be respected by Ultra Prime. Wouldn't be surprised to see 80 carry bans here. Things like the Saya, obviously Rakan already locked in. Maybe things like the Zeri, which has been showing its head a little bit. Maybe the Senna, although you don't typically see Senna alongside the Rakan.
There's an outside chance of something. We've seen Aphelios lanes versus the Lucian, but typically that's been with the Lulu or something that can buff up the Aphelios to kind of be the one-man army a little bit more. So BLG, they're not feeling like they need to ban away 80 carries right now. Maybe something like the Ezreal could survive the lane. I don't know if there's much that can contest right now. If you do ban out that Zyra Khan, as you said before, that's one of the big ones. And yeah, maybe Draven is the other one. Of course, Dogger is a famous Draven player too, so you can get rid of one of them. I think BLG would be happy to fist fight against the Draven in the early game, though. Elkanon have been one of the best laning 2v2s that we've had so far in the LPL.
Certainly have. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't ban the Zyra, just because Zyra's a scaling pick. Play is a scaling pick. You already talked about the one-item spikes for Lucian and Karma. This is a team that dominates the early game and then snowballs from there. But no, the Zyra will be banned away. No, I mean, we've seen the Neela more and more. I've not been that impressed by it as a pick more recently, to be honest.
Yeah, we had a game of it yesterday from Lights on Weibo. Looked awful. The other game we saw of it, the other game we saw of it, it was almost a perfect game versus OMG. I think those are the only two Neela games we've seen in the LPL. We haven't seen many. The hover is it's something that would again signify just brawling the early game. It's not going to be locked in yet. So last pick AD carry, considering their options a little bit more, instead the Renekton, something that can contest early game, and it is a blind pick towards that top lane though. So what is Bin going to take him back?
I mean, Bin having counter matchup is never going to be fun for Decade. And we'll see what that what the AD carry answer will be from Ultra Prime at the end. Jax being the hover for BLG right now, that'll be locked in. Oh, and it's actually Jax Jungle to go against the Zinzao, and Gnar locked in against the Renekton.
So, last pick AD carry, they've kept us waiting for this one. Mentioned stuff like the FLSD a little bit earlier, they hovered the Neela, we've talked about scaling, we've talked about brawling. There are a couple of different ways to go towards this. You have a fairly competent, Renekton Shinsa top side to fight early game, so that's what they're going to try and bat and pass over to a Zeri later into the game. Zeri, typically quite hard to deny farm in that early game, but it's going to be hard to survive the Lucian Nami 2v2. I feel like Ultra Prime, this is going to be very much a weather the storm kind of game.
See if they can. I was going to say whether they can weather the storm. It just doesn't work as a sentence, does it? BLG, though, the oncoming storm, absolutely. Call them Time Lords at this point because they have been looking terrifying. They're on 11 wins in terms of series. They're also on an 11-game streak, coincidentally. And certainly favourites today to continue that game streak. Ultra Prime has been a team that have been struggling. And I will say, Ultra Prime, almost a 50% win rate when it comes to blue side. The red side, they are 2-12. It's not been the side of the map that the team has preferred so far this year. And the Lucian, I mean, I'm just excited for Elkanon on Lucian Nami. I think this is one of the best Lucian Nami duos. In the entire world.
And there were a lot of KNLPL play Lucian Nami and how to play out through the laning phase aggressive. Things get really, really bad. Give up even one mistake in the early game. BLG have been very, very consistent with going onwards.
Time to find out if they'll be consistent once more. Ultra Prime up against it here, full scaling from their carries. Let's see if they can survive the early game and get to those late game team fights. I don't think we're getting JOs.
We're not getting JOs. We always win. We always win. First game, it's always a little bit of a coin flip to see if the crowd are raising their voices or not for this. And, I want to just cast a gaze back just a little bit, because this time last year, BLG would have been around this time introducing Coach Tabe to their roster after a very inconsistent spring 2023. BLG were always that team which had promised a lot of great things. If you brought Uzi out of retirement, they thought they could be one of those true elite teams. Really took until the end of spring and then into spring playoffs last year before we really started taking them seriously. They took down Weibo in playoffs. They went to MSI finals beyond that too after an LPL finals for themselves. This time this year, though, after such a stellar year for BLG, they have not dropped a beat. This is a very different start to them from 23.
Certainly is. Big way now, the head coach. Obviously, Tabe leaving at the end of last year. And it's a different look for BLG. Obviously, Knight also joining the squad. And it does feel like so far, it's all been positive. So far, everything has been working out for BLG. The roster changes, people weren't sure. You know, Knight versus Yagao, it's very much a conversation of what do you value? What do you believe in when it comes to what you need from a mid laner? Yagao, a big popular player with other pros, like very much a hot commodity when it comes to who your other players want to play with. But Knight, just such an incredibly individually gifted talent.
I think particularly with BLG, when it felt like they had struggled and then they'd found a certain chemistry and then they succeeded, messing with that kind of chemistry has itself some risks. But you know, talking about other players on the Rift as well, I think two of the players which really benefited from last year were Elkanon, the players on your screen right now. They went from being, you know, good to genuinely one of the very best CP2s that we saw in the LPL last year. I think their international exposure really did a lot of work for them. As El does miss a cannon. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry that we
still
cursed
ruined
that.
everything.
But then we do have potentially level 3, level 1 dive and bot side shit. What's he got here?
Oh boy, this is dangerous for Doggo. The stun comes in. Elk tanking a tower shot though, and I don't think they can actually commit any further to this one. Double heal bot, by the way, for Doggo and Dway.
So heal doesn't work like that.
It's just not pretty, is it?
Season 4, when the heal summoner station, everyone was taking double heal bot lane. So suddenly, Riot thought, okay, we're going to change it so if double heals hit the same target, they're going to get reduced value out of it for every heal after the first. If you take double heal, it's not actually double heal, it's 1 and a bit heals instead. So Dog and Drake, without an exhaust, without a barrier, without something like that, they are without the ability to outplay that dive.
And, you know, Ultra Prime, they've been a team that have had some communication issues. I didn't expect that to happen, you know, during some of the spell selection. I kind of thought that would be more in-game issues. I love that BLG, though, straight off the bat, we talked about how fast they are. We talked about the fact that they are the bloodiest team in the LPL. They love to fight in the early game. And Shun immediately starts it off, leading the charge down in the bottom lane.
Yeah, we already highlighted what was going to happen in this early game. BLG, very proficient team at that. I'm not dropping a beat here as well. Gold over to the Lucian Nami. That is such a dangerous thing for one of the most proficient duos in the world of playing that. Also just saw one of the mid lane matchup stats play up as well, which is Karma has a very good win rate versus Way in that mid lane in the LPL so far. See if that matchup starts to influence things as they get unlocked from lane, particularly around that 1 item mark.
So Hacker clears the control ward from Tri-Rush. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the Ultra Prime counter-dive angle, try and get into that bot lane themselves, but they decide to call off the play. I think rightly so, to be honest. I think that would have been a little bit dicey. As Elkanon, great start to the game. Unfortunately, it is Nami that got the first blood. One thing I will say, and it's been said many times on broadcast, but Army, once you get Monday, it feels pretty good to have the gold on them.
What is maybe more powerful, they are so strong. Even champions or Locket or something like that, we see a couple in that regard. It can be a decent trade versus been there. Really had time to talk about this top lane matchup. We kind of points, but then there'll be a split push threat upside of the map that can stop Bin from being such a menace in the side lane, threatening turrets later into the game.
So, Drake up. Oh, flash forward from Decade. Bin hops the wrong direction and taken down. That was his flash as well. Decade solo kill against Bin.
Oh, God, what a good play from Decade. This is a player who just really struggled on an individual level as a top laner, but a solo kill against Ben, who himself has not had the best form, is a heck of a score to take in that early game. That's good news for Ultra Prime's top side.
Ben getting kind of destroyed here, down in CS, getting solo killed. And it's worth mentioning that Ben has had a bit of a weak split. Now, he's still been doing well in the top lane, but not quite the same level of domination that you expect from a player of his caliber. Decade just catching him out.
And some really good animation cancels there as well. You can kind of like use your ultimate to cancel out some of your abilities. Actually, no, you can do that with the W, but still, just managing to make sure he can get the kill before the Mega Narc comes in. Been a unfortunate misstep for him. It's going to give some extra early gold over to Decade. You can get ahead of the game now, and we did say that Lucian Nami is the focus for BLG. If you have to draw eyes across the rest of the map, though, BLG don't really want to have to be answering to a Renaxin, which should be kept in check by this Mars. That's a bit of an awkward mistake there by Bin.
It's kind of crazy as well, because Bin, generally speaking, you know, like, regardless of the form he's had this year, he's still been one of the top laners in the entire league. When you look at his actual laning stats, like highest CSD, highest goal difference, highest XPD at 15 minutes, it's more down to what's happening later on in the game and how he's able to influence these fights. And a lot of that is just down to the fact that BLG are so far ahead of the curve elsewhere on the map a lot of the time. You do not expect this guy to be solo killed by Decade, a player that realistically has been criticized a lot this year. What a great way to come into this series for Decade, and imagine the morale boost that Ultra Prime just got, seeing Decade solo killing Bin up top after the dive that happened bot. Like, that is a ray of light for Ultra Prime.
And Ultra Prime, they're a team which have had to be quite persevering in this split. They've shown a decent amount of that. They've had some difficult games, and they haven't been able to capitalize on as many openings as they would have liked. See if they can do something in this early game. Of course, that's step one of a multi-step plan to do anything as BLG. It feels like in this split, they've been very hard to get under the skin of. We haven't even really managed to, talk about what happens with this mid lane matchup as it comes into things as well. One item spike as that comes through. We'll see how that gets to combo up with the rest of the map. Hacker moving up towards top side. Of course, with no flash on Bin, he's a little bit more vulnerable here, but you will see Hacker on this ward in that little pixel brush on the river.
Won't be able to find anything there. Slight gold lead for BLG, but really not a huge amount to talk about there. And remember, we're looking at this composition from Ultra Prime. We're looking towards the late game. You got Zeri, you got Hui. This is definitely a composition that is quite happy for the game to go slowly. That said, BLG have already got one Drake underneath their belts. 3 minutes until the next one comes up. Soul very much could be a win condition for them, because they've got an Ocean out of the way and a Cloud out of the way. Chem Tech would probably be the worst available remaining Soul, but the rest of them are pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you get something like a Hex Tech in this game with a couple of low-range brawlers and a couple of champions that just want to kind of slip away from engages, the extra movement speed and or rather the slow, so the movement speed differential could be a huge different factor as well. So lots of different Souls to keep our eyes on, and we'll update you that as it comes through. Of course, second spawn of Grubs coming through, with Ultra Prime taking all of the first spawns. I'm sure we'll want to take at least one. Would love to take two to stop the might buff coming through. But we see both these bot lanes hitting level 6, going towards top side. Of course, it's Shun that goes in first and forces a flash milk.
If that root lands on Yuakai, the culling will 100% get the kill there. One grub taken for Shun, so he gets the XP for that first one that is so crucial. BLG fully grouped, so Ultra Prime, this could be a 5v5 that we're looking at right now.
Okay, so Blast Card over the river. It feels like there's a big choke point they need to avoid here.
Shun dives in, tries to steal the grub away, but won't be able to get it. That's 4 for Ultra Prime, and Hacker could start off on the 5th one. In the meantime, Knight is making a beeline down towards the bot lane. No, in fact, gonna just go for a reset instead. Looks like BLG have called off the play entirely. Shun's still interested. He's still hanging around. Hacker's smite's just come back up, though, so we'll be able to get that 5th grub. So, a small win for Ultra Prime.
Okay, so that's going to be the might buff available for them. How easily can they use that? We will see. Not exactly sure who's going to be freely hitting turrets and side lanes later on into the game, but in any kind of way, there's a cross map now. Ultra Prime will have a slight advantage because they'll kill turrets just a little bit quicker, well, quite a significantly big bit faster because of that 5-to-1 differential in the grubs. First item is now being hit though across the board. Pretty much every AD carry it feels like you can build Shiv is building Shiv right now. That's why we're seeing them move away from stuff like Storm Razor. Shiv as an item, the proc of it, the wave clear has changed. Well, are you going to cancel that back? Oh,
I love it.
This is the most frustrating thing about this. Anyone who's ever played top lane against this damn champion knows that he just occasionally just styles on you by hitting that. But either way, Shiv's proc has been nerfed, the stats have been buffed, so everyone who can just build the item just builds it because it gives you a little bit of wave clear. The stats are really good on it. That's why Lucian's moved away from the Storm Razor and more towards the Shiv.
Yeah. Oh man, I just love that we're seeing Bin kind of styling a little bit. Even though he just got solo killed, still stopping the recalls, has a 10 CS advantage. Obviously not very good in this matchup at finding CS leads, being able to punish. UltraPrime making a play on the bottom side. Shun's still surviving for the time being. That Grandmaster's might doing so much as Hacker dives onto Elk, and Doggo's here too. Elk forced the flash, but the Spiraling Despair is there. Elk goes down. And it's 2 kills for the side of UltraPrime. Knight now trying to chase for a little bit more. He's there alongside Chum, but he misses his Q. Doggo's stacking this whole time. UltraPrime are taking it to BLG in the early game, but Knight ain't finished just yet. Doggo the next target. Over the wall he goes. Jway tries to get the heal over to his AD carry. Knight still chasing for this one. I think the play is over, and BLG, despite losing the fight, still start the train.
Oh, I mean, they end up losing their bot lane very unexpectedly so. It starts off with a catch and river, but UltraPrime getting some gold onto this area after now they have their first item as well. It's good news for them. It's not just going to be a kind of a roll over and die situation in this early game, despite the fact that Knight was looking particularly scary in that fight. So, BLG, they walk away with the second dragon. Do lose that early game fight though, which is a point of concern. Starts off with Shun being a bit disconnected from his team. He doesn't have a Karma shield here at the start of the play. He doesn't have the Nami here at the start of it. He's lost the grand majority of his health before he even starts that fight. I think Knight does a really good job to stop the like the worst case scenario, stops Yokai from getting fantastic value out of this, but he is not there to protect the rest of the team as Elk is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I
do love that Yokai got so much damage out onto Elk in the initial play, or onto Shun in the initial play. And then Knight just literally runs at him. It's like 1v1 me, bro. Just takes him on melee range.
Where are your cooldowns now?
Yeah, Karma is a mage, but realistically, as far as mages go, she's basically a melee mage. Like, she wants to walk up into your face, get that tether, and punish. Jway taking a huge chunk there from Elk. And this is the point where UltraPrime, we're headed towards the 15-minute mark. It is a gold lead right now for BLG. They will have to beat the statistics in this game if they don't suddenly miraculously get a gold lead for themselves. They will have to be the first team this year to beat BLG when they're ahead of 15 minutes.
That sounds like a start. Oh, this is Lucian Nami!
Oh my god! Elk and On just annihilating Doggo under the tower.
So, the way you play Lucian Nami is you see that Warden Raptor pit there, that is your gold standard. You want something like that to see, okay, Hacker's not over the wall, Jway's not over the wall, so we can instantly all in. That one ward there opens up for so many plays like this. Doggo didn't know he wasn't safe, gets completely blasted. That's going to open up the Herald. It's going to open up a bit more of that gold lane, gold advantage in the early game. And it feels like, just look at this, he just gets run down.
And I think the most important thing to point out here is Milio was open, but this is what Nami brings to the table that Milio doesn't. He's way more kill threat when it comes to setting up for the culling, setting up for a dive. Milio helps you with the like sort of poke style of Lucian. Nami helps you with the I'm gonna one-shot someone style of Lucian.
And we've seen this duo do both. Feels like they are very competent. Any way you put it, really. It's a very, very good Lucian, and On has been one of our supports who has played a bit more of our range supports to a higher standard. On the whole, LPL has been moving quite a lot towards melee supports over the range supports, despite the fact that range supports still feel very strong in some other regions of the world. When you have particularly supports like Crisp and On, which have favored this, drafts change an awful lot from series to series between series with supports that favor one side or the other.
And I think On is a really great example of a player that has been good on both. Because when you think of On historically, like when he was on Suning, he was literally known as a player that only plays the melee supports. Like he built his reputation on Rakan, on Nautilus. But in the it just bounces off the Herald. Thumbs up comes out from Shun. But yeah, over the course of last year, it feels like On really changed that reputation. Started to be known as an enchanter player, started to show what he could do on these picks. Herald will be denied as a three-man play comes up from UltraPrime to deny the pressure onto the top tier one.
See that the Herald uses a bit of a taxi service towards the top lane to see if there was any opportunity there. I've kind of been waiting to see any kind of edge case engage and rotation plays from Herald. We have very occasionally seen an engage Herald. We use it for the big knockup and the slight true damage as well. I'm still waiting for a proper big highlight play from that, but still, it's nice to see players at least trying.
Yeah, we've seen it as a taxi service sometimes, but yet to see it as the engage. I think we've seen one Herald engage play. I can't remember who did it, but I do vaguely remember it happening. But yeah, not been a common strategy. Maybe with this second charge it's good. I feel like if you use the first charge for that, you could have got a tower. Like, if you get a tower from the fight, fair enough. But Bin is looking real scary right now. Oh no, Decades under the tower. The flash answered with a flash. Decade survives.
So Decade forced to use his ult just a little earlier. Bin, despite getting solo killed early into the lane, better spot now. Decade, he'd need to get in range for a Q healing. He's not going to be able to do that before the tower falls down. So Bin getting out of the solo advantage. Yokai, long range on that QW, the severing bolt. If there was any CC to be put around, this could be a very dead Gnar, and that's why Bin is roaming all the way away from this.
Yokai might be able to stop the recall here. In fact, he will be able to, and the Spiral in despair. Unless Mega Gnar happens, it does! Bin manages to get Mega Gnar, dodges away from some of the damage, but Yokai finishes the job, and it counts as a solo kill, no less.
Solo kill for Yokai, kind of helped out by Decade's work a little earlier. Still, it's a lot of time invested for him, which means that you see DLG pressing in mid and bot lane. They're going to go towards a soul point for an Infernal Rift. We said, hey, you know, this is there are a couple of souls left, which feel pretty high value. This is one of them, because when you go forward, the burst combo is going to be even worse than this. This doesn't get better.
Oh god, don't go again! Oh, he survives this time, but only just. A Medjai's in the pocket of Knight. He's bought it blank.
Yep.
But he's headed towards an Infernal Soul, and we already see the damage Lucian is doing. More Infernal Drakes. It's not going to make that easier for Ultra Prime. That lead that we talked about at the 15-minute mark is very much there. As Knight is trying to just 1v1 Yokai. The redemption is there, but Shun just moves in to finish the job. Root lands onto Decade. Should be another Mantra Q. Knight's damage is going to be off the charts at the end of this game.
Yokai just burned Flash to finish off that kill topside, and Knight is the only player in the world who routinely blank buys Medjais, but he gets rewards out of it, because I feel like Knight is one of the very best snowball players in the world. He knows how to get the most out of a fight in the mid game, and you get huge amount of stacks from that bin. He's going to have Mega, but he is also going to be 1v2.
Yeah, but that too is the support the jungler. I'm not sure they can take on the Mega Gnar, to be honest. There's now pressure in two lanes here. Tier 2 in the mid lane, and Decade being dived in the bottom side. Knight gets the root, Mantra Q. Good damage alongside Shun there. Decade's just going to be forced away. At this point, Dominus already used, and Knight and Shun can continue to threaten this tower. Luckily for Decade, reinforcements on the way. The tower will survive, but the Tier 2 went down mid.
But there's a teleport coming in topside as well. That's Yokai going right the way towards there, trying to punish the mini Gnar as it comes out again. This is going to be quite hard to finish off if he still has Hop, which he does.
Oh, it's another TP. They're going for this one. Decade wants a piece of the action. Bin will die. Ultra Prime decree it.
BLG this time do not have a cross map available to them. Well, I mean, Knight's pushing it down bot side turret, but with the bot lane and jungle resetting, it's going to be a bit of a freebie, and it's kind of a much needed one for Ultra Prime. They gave themselves a good early fight in the bot side river. Had a couple of look-ins here and there. That's been about the only good use for them. They forced very hard to get this kill. He overstays. He doesn't quite have Mega Gnar at this point, and doesn't have the ability to stave off multiple teleports, but it looks like Decade's had the favourite turns. I'm so sorry, buddy.
You think you can do a 9-man play onto our top laner? Here's a bit of revenge. Decade goes down. And we got the freebie against Bin, but it wasn't really free. It cost them 2 teleports, and now I fear they may feel the brunt of that decision, as Bin can have TP advantage as Baron comes onto the map. And he's on a side laning champion.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really annoying for Ultra Prime. I have a slight nitpick with that play. If you're definitely getting the kill, why not just give the extra 2 stacks over to Knight so we can get the full Medjai's value? Once you get... We talked about this Karma being a melee champion.
Wait,
once you get past...
that title? Sorry,
it's fine. I'm just sat there like, what am I going to talk about here? But the thing is, like, once you get past the 10 stacks on the Medjai's as Karma, you just never chase them down or catch them because they have so much movement speed. It's an extra 10% movement speed once you get past the 10 stacks on the Medjai's. I'm sure he'll get those stacks anyway, but either way, Ultra Prime, they cannot give freebies like that again. They can't give any vision over the top side of the map now as well. It is a very difficult scenario for them because, yeah, you don't have anyone that can push out side lanes versus anyone right now.
The nice thing for Ultra Prime is they are actually even in kills this game, which I didn't expect to see. I thought this would be far more one-sided than it has been. They have been fighting back, and they definitely do have scaling on their side. The problem is, I don't know if they'll scale by 1 minute 40. That's going to be when the Infernal Soul appears onto the map. They're currently almost 5,000 gold down. That tier 2 will pretty much push it over the brink to 5,000 gold. And BLG are in prime position to get themselves pretty much the most powerful soul in the game.
And particularly with Knight already putting out just a ridiculous amount of damage. Yeah, this things out. Shun maybe looking to see if he can cancel a recall. I think he sniffed out a recall coming through, and he has actually managed to stop it from Yukai. I think he would have been safe getting there all the same. Now Yukai delayed a little bit on that recall, will still be out on the map in time. So BLG hard pushing in the mid lane, trying to get themselves some side lane pressure as well. Bin has teleport to start threatening that top side in the turret. Elkin on, this is the combo.
Hacker chunked down to half. Drake up in 45 seconds, so Hacker probably going to have to reset here. Doesn't have Wolves or Grump to sustain up off. But I think he's just going to have to move over to Drake. I mean, you can't reset at this point as a jungler with Drake coming up. You just can't.
He's going to have to sustain through hitting enemy champions with Sundered Sky. Good luck with that one. See if he can get a range for that. He has a flash and he has an ult, so he can maybe make one last power play. Decade is currently off of vision. He'll have to pop his ult early to get himself some rage stacks up, so watch to see how Decade times his flanking angle. BLG forcing their way into the river.
This could be a huge game for Decade. Solo killed Bin in the laning phase and now has a prime flank to work with, but Knight might just find him. And there we go!
No.
Spotted immediately. And the horizon focus just gives vision of the whole area. And so Decade forced away. Great presence of mind from BLG, and Bin is close to Megadar as well.
See a decent chunk onto On. It's not like Doggo doesn't do damage, but can you do it in a timely enough manner to fight for this dragon? It's going down.
It's going to be a 50-50 right here. Shun moves into the pit and he takes it. Of course he does. It's Shun we're talking about. Spiral in despair. Bit of damage onto BLG here. Bin goes down. It's one for Ultra Prime as they look for the fight. They lost the soul. Can they find the scrap? Doesn't look like it. 1 for 1. And BLG, they just run to the mid lane.
1 for 1 plus dragon rather, and they get themselves positioned now over potentially Baron as well, because they get to shove in the mid lane. Resets are coming out quite late from Ultra Prime. They're not going to be able to keep up vision on this top side. Feels like BLG, they have complete control of this late game now, and all of those poke combos that were pinning back Ultra Prime before are just going to get that much worse. BLG, this is going to be, you know, a really quite solid mid to late game from them. Yeah. Once again, it feels like another game where they just take the gold lead. They never really let go of it.
I think they only become Ultra Chime if Chue plays Bard. that's when we can see the Ultra Chime come through. BLG having their resets denied by the Hui. It's so annoying. Such an annoying champion. Could theoretically lead to a Baron opportunity, but with Hacker down on the bottom side of the map, you don't really expect that to come through. Bin is down bottom, but he's got TP. Zeri stopping the recalls too. BLG desperate to just head back to base. Elk could probably afford a tier 3 item there off the BF sword, but doesn't actually get to go back and buy.
That's, you know, stopping recalls at higher levels of pro play can actually have some pretty big like impact. It can stop you from getting wards at the right kind of timings, or stop you from catching waves at the right kind of times. It's not going to lead to much here, but still, got a couple of cancels in a row there. But this dragon, it's just a 50-50, which doesn't go their way. It's a good tidal wave to stop Ultra Prime from looking to turn and fight as well. It's very hard to look for a turn fight off an objective with the Nami on the other side of the map. You do a good job of getting some initial burst out. The gold advantage is too much. The stats are so far stacked in BLG's favor.
Look, Ultra Prime may have lost soul. They may have lost the fight, but Decade killed Bin again, who is currently 0-4-0 in this game, despite the fact that BLG are absolutely smashing this overall. Bin's having a hard time of it. He's really struggling in these fights. He got solo killed during the laning phase. Yes, he's up in CS because he's playing Gnar against Renekton, but ultimately, Decade's had the best of this top lane.
Yeah, it really has been more about the rest of the team coming to slap Decade one after he's already claimed some individual play. Now, Decade, he's going to have to be pushing up the spot side. It wouldn't surprise me if BLG start up a Baron quite soon and try and see if they can force out a global teleport from one of the solo laners of Ultra Prime. Then probably they'll look to turn for a fight and see if they can win that as well. As Yukai, who's in the bot side right now, he's actually shadowing this bot side play because, of course, with the Renekton stun into the Quake combo, that would be very much a quick kill onto Bin.
Oh, I'm scared for Hacker. I wasn't sure if Elk was just going to blast his ult out there, try and get some more damage. Infinity Edge was the item that Elk finished off from the BF sword we talked about before, and a crit cape to boot as well. So 75% crit chance, I think it is, or maybe 70% at this point.
Okay,
Elk is chunking. Decade behind enemy lines. Dominus comes in, wants to get onto Elk if he can. Tired away, which way? Flashes it. That's a quickness, a knock-up, a stun, and a takedown. One for Hag here, and Ultra Prime find a pick.
That's a really poor retreat route from Elk. He separates from his team. He didn't have that flash. He's pushed up way too fast. So now BLG, they might have to defend the Baron now against the numbers disadvantage for them. Feels like Ultra Prime, they sadly can't complete that though. It feels like because the waves are pushed up so far in mid lane, maybe they lose an inhib for it, they can't start the Baron.
I've got to be honest, like, maybe I'm wrong here, I don't know, but I feel like as Ultra Prime, you got to start the Baron. You got to go for it. How many more opportunities are you going to get where you get to kill Elk before the fight? Literally none. That's never going to happen again. Like, Bin is not a big carry. I know that you probably still lose the fight anyway because it's BLG and Knight's an absolute machine, but I feel like that's your opportunity in this game. You're not going to get another opportunity like that.
The real question is, Knight looked like he was really close to mid lane. Now, if Ultra Prime knew that Knight was really close to mid lane, they will, as they're starting Baron, lose mid lane inhib and potentially start being threatened around the base as well. They don't make a decisive decision around that though. They just say, okay, let's back off, we'll take the one kill. Now they are waiting a minute and a half until Elder. Maybe they feel like they are more suited to an Elder flip than trying to go to a Baron start here. But then, as you said, I mean, you have to face up against Elk again. He'll have Flash next time, which means it is much harder to shut him down. At least Decade will also have Flash to try and get on top of that point-and-click stun with, of course, the Eclipse build, which we've seen an awful lot out of the Renekton recently, to try and burst out squishy carries.
Yeah, not going for too much follow-up damage, going for the GA and the Steric, so we'll be sort of pseudo-tanky. One thing that's worth mentioning, as I kind of rag on Ultra Prime a little bit for not starting Baron, they didn't actually have any way to physically force a fight. Quickness and basically all of Jue's engage had been used to try and get the pick onto Elk as well, so it would be difficult to force your will upon BLG. And if you can't start that fight, you really want to be going for the 50-50 on the Baron either. So tough one as Elder comes up in 30 seconds time, and it is complete control of the bottom side for BLG. You can see not a single red ward on that entire half of the map.
Topside is going to be hard to hold on to that vision. Either they've had to respond towards topside to replace the vision, which shouldn't cleared out just a minute before. And we have BLG wandering completely off the fog of war. And it feels like Decade, he's done well against Bin. Not sure how he'd do against Knight. It's a teleport into the bot lane. Knight is now caught out.
Knight stepping way too far forward. That's the Medjay stacks gone. And two objective plays in a row. BLG caught apart by Ultra Prime. Spiraling Despair on mid. He's forced away. Meganar will be on cooldown now as Decade pushes in. Ultra Prime with a real chance here. And they've got the scaling comp. Cullen comes in. Bin in the meantime caught on the bot side of the play. Redemption to sustain up for Ultra Prime.
Oh, but Decade wastes his flash and can't force it from Elk, but the Elder is still going down. BLG, they're at a 3v5 right now.
We could well have a 50-50 Bin headed back to base, but he's got his TP available. Will rejoin the play. He's looking for that fight. Decade tanking up the Drake for now as the bubble goes in. Ultra Prime looking for Elder right now. They're going to be able to fight it and perhaps can get the fight. 5v4. Bin on the flank. He's kiting everyone so well. Dre goes down and Bin slams him into the wall. BLG 4v5 against Elder. It don't matter. These are the kings.
Bin takes a backseat the entire game at 0-4, and when it matters, he turns up with 5 kill participation in what should surely be the final fight of this game. BLG, there are a couple of awkward setups of the objectives, but when push comes to shove, they slam the doors in the face of Ultra Prime.
I thought this might finally be the game where BLG slip up. I thought maybe that 100% win rate with a lead of 15 would finally be destroyed, but no. Bin steps up when it matters the most and destroys them. They win the 4v5 against Elder Dragon, and they take game number 1. BLG are indomitable.
Oh, Bin, not the easiest early game for him, but when it came to that late game, really started to strut his stuff. Got to really feel for Ultra Prime. Got to feel for Decade as well. Feels like he had some good moments in that game. Missed what was actually quite a very difficult split for him. He gets some side lane kills with some teleports. He gets the Knight before an Elder Dragon after Knight had been bullying across the map the entirety of that game before. You got to feel for Ultra Prime when they had a realistic shot against the best team in the LPL.
They certainly did, but unfortunately, couldn't quite make it happen. 2 opportunities, 2 catches before big objectives. But still, there's just so much star power on this roster, you can never count them out. We're going to jump into a break, and then we'll be back to see what happens in Game 2. back to the LPL. I'm joined by Nymira as BLG convincingly take game number 1. There was no hiccups at all, right, Nymira? That was a smooth sailing, right?
They definitely didn't lose people before key objectives and then had to muddle their way through. Yeah, that didn't happen. Okay, well, look, BLG, still a confident game from them, but Ultra Prime gave them some questions we weren't necessarily expecting in the late game. We thought in early game, well, there might be some things that they could do after an early dragon fight. It really came around the late game objectives somehow that Ultra Prime found some openings.
I mean, the fact that Ultra Prime nearly, or in fact did get Elder and still lost is heartbreaking for them. Let's take a look at what on earth happened here. Let's look at the post-game to start us off, and I think we're all going to be shocked and appalled at the sheer damage here. Look at those AD carries, man. It's almost 5 times the damage on the side of Elder.
Oh, that is really quite sad, because the thing is, Zeri does damage most of the time in quite structured team fights. There never was any of that. Most of the time Doggo was spent in this game was sat in mid lane and getting absolutely blasted by Elkanon as soon as they got that item spike. He just couldn't play the game. And despite the fact that Ultra Prime managed to get some decent plays around, well, just before objectives, the objectives themselves went so poorly that the team fights didn't work. And Ben gets player of the game after going 0-4-0 and only participating in 1 fight in the game.
I love it so much. I feel like the other candidates were Elk and Knight, right? And then they both got Corbin before big objectives, so they lost their candidacy. I can't believe it. Then somehow getting an MVP after going 0-4-0. And like, go 0-4-0 in lane, gets MVP, refuses to elaborate. Absolute Giga Chad.
I actually don't have words. This is, that's one of the player of the games of all time.
That's my go right there. That's my go.
Oh, man. I mean, it was a fantastic... I mean, that Elder fight definitely saved the game for them in a lot of ways, because they just walked out with Elder. It's probably the most important player of the game, so... No. It's not invalid. It's just funny as heck.
It's absolutely fantastic. Here we go. Let's get to Jab Select for game number 2. Let's see how our fate will be decided in this one.
That's
whether or not
dramatic.
Ultra Prime can, yeah, I know. Well, you know, it is my fate to commentate this game of League of Legends. So this will be how that's decided. Already, man's coming on through towards the bot lane here. Varys and Lucian taking away Kalista, respect band. The first pick squad as well of the Nautilus. And
it's a new patch, same Smolder.
Has made it on through.
New patch, same Smolder, has some adjustments, but this is not the hyper nerf Smolder we expect to come in the future. There have been some announced nerfs which haven't met the live patch so far. I'm going to assume that BLG are now going to just try and hammer it in the early game. They had a very good early game last time, and Knight gets Nico, was banned away in that last game, so Knight able to pull the trigger a lot more in an engaged sense, rather than just kind of the damage sense that the Calm can bring on one item.
I love that Shun is just cycling through all of the junglers in the game. Well, there was a second of Rammus hover there, and I feel like if you want to at home, you can screenshot that from the pod and call it flame. So just run with that, guys. Head to Twitter, get involved. Kaiser going to be locked in. This is the answer to Smolder that we've kind of been waiting to see more of. You can go for the AP Kaiser, just poke him out from range. Smolder never gets to play the flanks.
Feels like whatever build that the Kaiser's gone in the LPL, it's still been a problem for Smolder either way. Because if it's even an AD Kaiser that pings a W onto the Smolder, they just fly through and assassinate them anyway. I do like the AP Kaiser. I think that in a lot of ways it's been very, very unexplored by a lot of pro teams, and I hope we see a little bit of that here and there as well, just as we dip our toes into could be one of these adaptations.
I tell you what,
goes back towards the Renekton.
We're going to see the AP Kaiser. We're also seeing Jace top run in this game. I'm calling it now.
Yeah,
preemptive
the
call.
triple poke combo.
Yeah, I can visualize it in my mind, just like they tell you on those self-help videos where you've got to visualize the success. I'm visualizing the Jace top.
I'm happy for you. I know that your fate is determined by this game. I know it's a very bad moment for you. I like that you're trying to this feels very dramatic. I'm here with you. Not sure if I'm participating in that just quite yet.
Look,
it's my fate to see Ari locked in every game and then criticize the build anyway. But I like to see this for you as well.
It's our fate to see Shun on the Kindred once or two. I feel like it's fun to talk about this game as if it's really important for me personally because, let's be honest, This is a pretty one-sided one so far. Ultra Prime getting a couple of miracle moments in the first game, but you do still expect BLG to be massively favoured. And if anyone in the LPL can show us how to take down Smolder, it's probably BLG. Zins out underway after the Kindred's locked in, setting up for a great jungler matchup here for sure.
And it is also worth noting as well that Ultra Prime, while it would be very unlikely to make the playoffs from this position as well, I believe if they lose this next game as well, they are actually mathematically locked out of contention as well. They'll be the second team in the LPL to miss out on playoffs after EDG. It was historic, symbolic moment for them to miss playoffs too. But so that losing that first game in the way that they did, it takes a little bit more of that in mind, even though it was unlikely for them to make that run anyway. It'd be sad to see it cut short for them on a personal level.
Certainly would. But we'll see what the result will end up being today. It ain't over till it's over. Like we said on the first graphic of the day, I didn't hear no bell. Ultra Prime not done with the 3-team gauntlet just yet. For anyone that doesn't know, that wasn't here at the start of the stream, Ultra Prime, their two most recent opponents have been JVG and Top Esports. They had to play against the third place team of the league, then the second place team of the league, and now they're up against the first place team of the league. This has been a brutal 3 series for them. This will be potentially the last game in that series. I'm quietly confident that Ultra Prime will give us a little bit more. They already challenged BLG in game number 1, but the Blitzcrank ban here to set up for potentially a double range bomb.
Instead, they just go towards this Maokai instead. Blitzcrank, I suppose that would have been nice against... it would have been nice to kind of see that against kind of the swamp lanes, just force fights there, so you understand why Ultra Prime kind of forcing it away, but the Maokai is going to be able to force fights against them all the same. You haven't been able to deny all of the gauge options that can kind of stop the Smolder from just sitting pretty. The question is, what are you going to combo up with this top side now for Ultra Prime as well? You have the Renekton and the Ahri, two of the earliest powerhouse solo laners in the game. Locking the Braums to be that last kind of denial of pick potential from that support role.
Some Braum there. Blitzcrank ban has me scratching my head a little bit. I thought it was going to be like the Bard or something, to be honest. You usually see the Blitzcrank ban when you're going for the double range bot lane. The Wukong was buffed. We were talking about the buffs at the start of the day, and it's going to be locked in. Our first 14.5 Wukong is on the server, and I'm assuming it's Hacker taking it.
Yeah, it will be that. We was the only champion of this. Look, I've seen some Braum
Could be Renekton jungle.
but
You never know.
I'm not even
Braum
gonna.
jungle.
I'm not even gonna like.
They played Rammus bot for God's sake. Like, if any team's gonna do it, it's Ultra Prime.
That's true, and yet I pretend I do not see it. Well, that Wukong, I really like it in this composition, though. You have, even against the Jax, which is the most they've been here, a lot of Wukong's damage in team fights comes through, AoE damage of the E and the ult. Yes, you miss out on your Q and you're not going to have as huge value, but if you're Sap, trying to defend with a Kindred ultimate, if you then hold on to the second part of your Cyclone, you can just use that as the Kindred ultimate elapses as well. You can use the Wukong to deny the Maokai ultimate as well, in regards to kind of cloning back, if the clone takes the Nature's Grasp potential and protects the people behind you beyond that point without you having to put yourself in harm's way. I like the Wukong in this draft. I like it for the solo laners. I think Renekton Wukong, with Wukong's arm shred is very powerful. Renekton Ahri was one of the most powerful combos, I believe, of around 2022. That was when Wukong was still in real prime power at that point. I like this draft from Ultra Prime. It has a lot of ability to play in team fights and the early game, particularly around topside.
I'm curious to see how they can pilot it. They've got the late game. They've got early game prowess as well. I feel like that top side, like you say, plenty of ability to scrap. Look at the big grin on Knight's face though as he's chatting away to his teammates. Yeah, I feel like every single game you see BLG going into, aside from like world semi-finals, they're like laughing and jovial. Feels like that's honestly one of the challenges for them internationally, is whether or not they can keep those vibes alive. But right now, the vibes are strong for BLG. A solid Game 1 win, despite losing Elder somehow. And Ultra Prime now, a bit more early prowess with a Smolder for the late game. It's a solid composition. We'll see if it'll be enough to take it to BLG. some of the worst gyros I've ever heard. Come on, guys, pull it together.
Aw.
We got like three people trying.
Like, okay, Dre's actually gonna walk up. Rob is a very strong level 1 champion, but you don't want to walk up 3 people. But I mean, I think this is a problem when a team does too well. The fans get complacent. You gotta want it, man. You got these fans to get behind them. Oh, back is actually not stopped there somehow, some way. And,
Wait.
like, the auto attack realized.
He's got a stack as he leaves the base there from the auto of Elk. On sticking around here, just going to be chucking one extra sapling before leaving. Just going to try and annoy Hacker as much as he can. This BLG going to have Shun starting on that top side. You see the ward on the blue buff. I wonder what Shun's pathing is going to be for this one. Always interesting to watch the Kindreds in the early game, see how they path to try and guarantee those stacks.
Yeah, especially when the early lanes from Ultra Prime are pretty strong in the solo lanes. We see Ben actually walk up and get a good level 1 trade with the Grasp trade alongside the Strike 2. Knights can get early push onto the Ahri, because Ahri tends to start with W level 1 for a hard trade. It means that if Nico gets the Q onto the backline and the enemy champion for then the kind of the double bloom, there's a lot of work in that early game, and as you can see, Knight already shoving in that early lane.
Bin on the Jax for us today as well. It's always fun to watch Bin on Jax. 100% win rate across this split. He's got 3 games played. But across his entire career, it's his second most played champion. He's 52 and 22. He's got over a 70% win rate on the champion, over 74 games. That is kind of absurd, the sheer amount he's played it, and how winning it has been of a pick for him. Threatening Decade gets the slice and dice out.
So, Shun's actually going to go for an early invade. One of those early walls put down shows that Hacker's not up towards the top side of the map. Hacker is now going to still be off vision. He slipped off of vision and might get an angle on Knight here. He does not know Hacker is there.
He can stealth into the lane as well, and then suddenly Knight is in trouble. The root lands, but there's first blood. Yuakai takes it. Glorious gank from Hacker.
Oh, wow, manages to get all around all of the information from BLG. They were prepared for a topside play. They pushed in mid lane and top lane as Shun walks in, but they weren't prepared for Hacker to so easily get in towards Knight's lane. He goes back and teleports back to play with the Dark Seal and says, well, that kind of sucked. We have known occasionally Knight to overpush and die in the early game, but very rarely is it like that, when you're just so comprehensively just outpassed somehow in the early vision by Hacker.
Shun waiting around for the crab now on the top side. It will be the one with the stack. The Decade has overstayed his welcome here. Mounting Dread. That's another kill going the way of BLG this time. Should be the crab as well. Hacker waiting in the brush. He wants to contest this one. Shun has the smite available, and Bin took it.
Well, okay.
Does he still get the stack?
So you still get the mark. You only need to get the assist. This is a big change that was made from Kindred. In season 8, or it was a while ago. I can't remember the exact time it was made, but you only need to get the assist on a camp that your team kills to get the stack there to kind of stop people from kind of prioritizing farm or marks. It kind of got a weird trade like that. I mean, it's still not good to lose the early gold as a jungler. You need the camp gold. He's still going to go back after getting an assist gold. Of course, he gave the kill and the Scuttle over. That's a double win.
Oh, Elk's in big trouble. 2 stacks, 3 stacks, but On saves the day. W goes wide. On now taking a lot of punishment. This is a big 2v2 coming out from Doggo and Chway. Somewhat evenly traded in the end on the backside of the play, but even still fantastic trading from Doggo and Chway. They've got pots.
See, there's a cookie there from Alex who can stay in lane for a little longer, but landing these Qs is right over and over. It's a good poke in the early stages of the game. Very high base damage. Doggo missing that W as well means that should be just about safe, but you don't normally expect smallest winning trades like this in lane. Knight's to the dying for first blood. It's now going to go to a top lane. Decade is not going to happen.
Yep, no way out of that one. Stun lands from Bin. No flash was up for Decade. Tonight finds an easy route. And in the meantime, Shun just moves mid to catch this wave, so no XP is lost around the map. He's like, look, if my laners are going to take my crabs, I'm going to take my laners' minions too.
I see how it is. It's a stage up from just walking through a lane and smiting a minion wave. It takes a whole wave up. This is what you should do, by the way, is I think a lot of junglers around the world, actually, in different regions, kind of have forgotten the value of lane farm for junglers as well. It only gets much less valuable if you have the most farm on your team. That's when you can get the diminishing returns from it. So Shun getting some extra value there on a very gold-intensive carry jungle, which of course we know the LPL's been playing an awful lot of compared to the rest of the world. Shun happy with this early game so far, despite the fact that he gave up that early score. I think we can forgive that.
Yeah.
As the early game is going very well for BLG nonetheless.
And you know, that early scuttle, it's set up for Bin to be 2-0 in the game. That was definitely that's the thing that set it up. The fact that Bin got both of these kills off the early plays though is fantastic for BLG. He's on his signature jacks that we just talked about a moment ago. How insanely winning he is on this champion. Knight setting up for the second kill as well. Decade still has half the cooldown on the flash, so it wouldn't surprise me if this isn't even over for Decade. Shun's on the top side of the map, but it looks like it's going to recall for now.
Particularly when you've got Ben with Flash and Ultimate, lots of ways that Jess can kind of stick himself to a trade. And, particularly once the Grandmaster's Might is running as well, the Ultimate, it gives you that empowered auto-attack from that massive every other time. And again, he's just jumping forward, lands the stun, danger moment for Decade.
Decade slices and dices, gets himself out, survives. His Elk is taking some punishment down in this bottom side. Dwayne doing a really good job to set Doggo up. The fact that you're playing Smolder on your side and you're winning these trades early is fantastic news for Ultra Prime. Then once again goes for these trades. I just want to quickly point out on the scoreboard as well, this is going to be Elk going for the Shiv first into AP, would be my assumption of the build that he's going for, as opposed to, you know, the Mana Moon version of the build or the full crit version of the build.
Yeah, we've seen Gala do some different stuff too. He went Kraken Slayer into Terminus, and that was actually okay in the games that he was building it, but yeah, it feels like the common build has been Shiv, Rageblade, and then into Nash's later, so then you can transfer late game over to AP, but not still yet to see the absolute Exodia poke build coming through, which, of course, we've seen poke builds in the Kaiser before as we grew in pro play. I expect to see it again at some point. Having a rough time in the early game, though, typically the philosophy is you pick the Kaiser because the smaller can't bother you early, but then now, with the tower aggro taken, a bit dangerous there for the right?
Yeah, but also a bit dangerous for On, honestly, and it might just go down. 2v2 taken. Doggo and Dway are showing up today.
Okay, alright. The whole thing about the Kaiser is that, hey, nothing will happen in lane, right? It's a Smolder, nothing can happen here, but they have messed up a lot of trades, and Doggo and Dway have made some very good trades for themselves. Now, Hacker potentially looking to see if he could have cancelled their...
I'm just laughing about this. Like, you know that you're in first place in the league and you're absolutely chilling when you get 2v2'd embarrassed in the bot lane and you're just laughing about it on the camera.
It's one of those sightings of off as opposed to on in the bot lane. I mean, I get in any normal scenario you sat there thinking, hey, keep the tower aggro, that'll work, right? Sadly, in this case, it's a very bad overestimation on their power deck. It has a splash back up now, but Ben is really starting to wreck through. He hasn't even got himself back into base yet to get himself towards, inevitably closer towards that first item. He's continually making sure that Decade's having a bad time, though. Already very far up in CS. Feels like Jax isn't going to be losing out in those 1v1s anytime soon.
Feels like Shun constantly on this top side of the line. Let's take another look at the all-in from On onto Dway here. Great prediction that the Q was going to hit.
Yeah, that is actually really important, because if you flash forward and the Q doesn't hit, then obviously they don't get aggro. He still miscalculates the fact that Doggo's there at level 6 and absolutely murderizes him. But still, it's a nice play from the tower aggro. That's cool.
It's like, it's theoretically a nice play. Unfortunately, you don't win those.
Look, you throw this at me occasionally, you know it's bad when you have to bring out that kind of comment.
I know, I know.
Theoretically, it's fine. Yeah, but it wasn't in the actual rift.
Yeah, unfortunately, the theory met with reality. And it's always a disaster when that happens. Dway and Doggo, though, fantastic 2v2 here. Don't really expect Smolder to be winning the 2v2s, especially against Elk and On, but here we are. And again, like, this is 2 games in a row now where Ultra Prime are doing surprisingly well in the early game against BLG. They really are contesting. And speaking of contesting, want to go for this Gromp, maybe for a fight on the bottom side. Elk gets stunned, no, flashes over the wall, and On now trying to escape. Hacker dashes on in. There's good dodge on the ultimate there from Shun. Nice little dash sideways. BLG will survive. Or maybe a blue buff for Ultra Prime.
It's nice to just get some presence on bot side as well. You're going to be able to drop wards down there, which will be able to help them keep Smolder safely stacking. This is not safe farming up here, though.
Oh, he dodges it. Gets the Q. I think he's still going to die.
Dodge.
Another kill, but this is a Smolder that's getting out of control.
It is 2 kills in the early game, been hitting champions all laning phase long as well. This is another thing, right? It's kind of like the Sana in regards to this too. Yes, you get stacks from how you interact with minions, but you also get stacks from hitting enemy champions. Elkanon have been slammed by skill shots time and time again, to the point where Doggo, you know, in this elimination game for Ultra Prime, might end up being the late game Smolder, which we have learned to come to fear despite the changes to the champion on the patch of 14.5. This is still Smolder, and it's still going to be very scary for BLG.
BLG right now are on a 12-game win streak. Will it really be Ultra Prime the ones to deny that? I feel it would be fitting for the LPL. It always seems to be the way that these things go. But so far, BLG still just about having the gold lead, but it is only by a couple of hundred.
Dude, you know that bot side jungle is not safe. He pops the sweeper and he realizes, this was a mistake. And it's a good dodge again. Wow, these W's have been great. Just the whole actually living afterwards, that's been the kicker.
Yeah. The problem is the base understanding of League of Legends. Yeah,
if you got that copy pass, it was like, On is a terrific player. Just needs to work on like health management and map awareness and vision control. Like, just have this whole list afterwards. It's been a bit like that from this game, sadly.
Yeah, it really has. Decade going to be able to clear the wave. Bin has got to the point where he's proxying. I love the amount of time Shun has spent on this top side of the map as well. They're basically just splitting as Doggo now tanking a tower shot. They're desperately trying to get damage down. This tower almost going down as Hacker. I love that Hacker and Shun are literally playing vertical map right here, but it does mean there's a 30 CS advantage right now for Shun.
And, Doggo, though, ends up cancelling some recalls again, saying, no, you're sticking around here at half HP. You'll not be able to get back out onto the map. Stop Knife being able to do anything here as well. He has a decent amount of wave clear. Pop that Q onto the wave too, popping the ult for wave clear as well.
Oh.
Really wants to get these minions away from tower.
I think he wanted to try and get Shui there as well, but couldn't quite get in range. Shui using the heal for movement speed. Has been see enemy, kill enemy is Bin's philosophy right now, and that is a hell of a trade. Half of a health P bar gone, HP bar gone instantly.
The health P bar is getting a little low step in there because he doesn't have himself his first item, whereas Bin does. Triforce Spike is so insanely strong on Jax. It always has been. Now you have Elk heading towards topside as well. Remember, this is a Kai'Sa that can just pop ult and let you go onto a target. If the next stun lands, that's going to be a Kai'Sa flying onto deckhand as well, potentially.
Does get the stun, so that would be the mark available, but Bin just going to finish the tower off. Huge amount of gold in his pocket. Like you say, Triforce Boots already finished off. He's going to be a terror in any upcoming fights. Knight as well, farming up a Storm over 10 CS per minute so far in this game. Yokai doing a good job to match that. And I feel like these next few minutes are going to be crucial for Ultra Prime. A, because of the stat we talked about before, BLG, again, they have not lost when they're ahead of 15 minutes so far this split. But B, because they've got Wukong, they've got Ari, they've got Renekton, like, the kind of level 6 to level 11 mark for those champions is so incredibly potent, you need to abuse it.
If you manage to get a good enough burst onto Shun, who's jumping onto Doggo right now, if you get a good enough burst onto him, he won't be able to use his ultimate before he goes down. That's one of the big threats of this kind of topside combo from Ultra Prime. You know, point and click Renekton stun, you've got the Cyclone and Charm. Many ways where Shun can go down without too much of a contest. Harold, though, without a fight, you don't see that combo just yet from that top side of the map from Ultra Prime. They do get themselves the Herald and see whether they can break open something like this mid lane turret with it. That'd be very valuable for them.
Yeah, nice pickup. We'll see for Ultra Prime. Drake coming up, though, in 5 seconds, and that's what BLG have position on. Conceding the top side to set up for this bottom side. Bin, in the meantime, hitting onto that tier 1 bot tower as Shun starts the Drake. So BLG kind of trading sides of the map. We talked about the vertical jungling to start with. That was Shun on the top side, Hacker on the bot side. BLG essentially switching that up. Shun is hovering for Bin basically all game.
And it makes a lot of sense. They have 6 grubs. It is very easy to kill towers there, especially since you're absolutely slaughtering that lane there too. Doggo forced to use that ult on towers. You kind of have to. A lot of smaller is one of the big things about him is that his core item build, especially when you've got the cooldown boots and then the item components he has as well, it really lowers that ultimate to the point where you can just say no to a wave every so often, every time you think that you're going to be in danger on the turret.
So, fairly action-packed first few minutes. We've had a bit of a lull as these objectives go over. For Ultra Prime, you're quite happy with a reasonably slow pace of game, you've got that Smolder, he is scaling up. I'm curious what the stacks are, to be honest, at this point.
Just hit 125, they just spied him.
Nice. So, very much on track. You fully expect him to be, you know, within the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes at that point where the execute will be online. On just about gets away from the charm. That could have been dicey for him. Having a pretty tough game for himself. But yeah, the Smolder can be a problem for BLG later on. Be curious to see how they try and play around that, because there's been a lot of teams, even top teams, struggling to deal with the Smolder.
I think one of the best ways is to get crushing side lane advantage and then use that to get some flank angles onto him later into the game. So Ben is trying to do just that against 6 grubs. Power spike that Triforce is very, very strong, but the Ari teleport in and trying to shut that down.
They liked the 9-man play onto Bin in the previous game, apparently. They're doing it again. Hacker gets the knock-up. Decade is moving in. Bin has his flash available, but chooses not to use it in the end. Decides this is a doomed play. He was definitely going down there. So, holds on to the Summoner. But again, nice capitalization from Ultra Prime. On. What are we doing, buddy? What are we doing?
There is no one here.
I mean, he hit the ultimate, so that's nice. Goes down, Jue steals the kill. Nice little Q there to get himself a little bit of kill credit. In the meantime, BLG will take a tier 1 mid.
Like, yeah, he has swiftness boots. He's pretty fast for a tree. He's uprooted himself, and he's walking very confidently towards his death. Again, 0-3. Yeah. Wouldn't it be so hilarious if he also went 0-4 and then made a game-winning play in late game to get player of the game, just like Ben in game 1?
That would be something special. Yeah, on. This is not it. This is not it. This is a tough game to witness for any BLG fans. And I think this is the concern for BLG when it comes to like playoffs, when it comes to the big games, when it comes to finals potentially. Like, we have seen games like this from On, seen rough games from Bin. It feels like this team, while they are incredibly strong, they also play a little bit fast and loose sometimes, and that really can bite them.
And you just look at the difference between, you could even say a series like the series against Team WE that they did walk away with a 2-0 from was concerning, because they did end up getting contested very heavily in the early game, and they had to clutch it out of the late game. FPX, fantastic series, one of the best series of play that we've seen from BLG in a very long time. Fantastic early games and then into the team fights later on.
Yeah.
The question is whether they can show that again consistently beyond that point.
The funny thing is, I feel like the FPX series suddenly gave me top esports vibes for this team. It's like they turned it on, you know, they stopped randomly running it down, they stopped just messing about and just destroyed FPX systematically. Whereas they come up against Ultra Prime, this feels like happy gaming to me. This feels like a lot of mistakes from On that really don't need to happen, that really just, we know On is a better player than this. It feels like, I don't know if Knight brings this to teams. I don't know if this is Knight's, like, his vibes are just like, we can win this anyway, just play for fun kind of thing. I don't know, but it's not good to see. It's definitely not good to see when we're talking about players for BLG.
Well, they're still at a very good side lane advantage, even though the Smolder is kind of scary, so it's not like this game is out of their advantage right now. Ben dodged out of the Q, he's got the counter strike on as well. He's just got the double stun as well, he really wants to fight here.
Bin's just like, oh, there's 2, 3 of them? Yeah, that sounds like a fair fight.
Wait.
Imagine if I had a real weapon.
Did Hacker just think he wanted to put down a ward there? He just placed the Herald.
Oh, Jue jumped into the Herald. I don't know if that's the play. Bin the target now, so the counter strike comes back up. Smolder ult across the team, and the roots come out from On to deny any counter engage. That felt a little bit dicey for a second there for Ultra Prime, but they managed to get away with the play.
They get away with it, but they just used the Herald, which they would have really liked to slam into mid lane to get some significant damage onto it. That's a big wasted objective, which they claimed earlier on into the game. BLG, now with no threat in mid lane, are going to be able to claim themselves third dragon. It's a Chemtech Soul. It can help sometimes versus the Smolder, because he likes to execute you at low HP, but of course he won't.
For God's sake, he just stands still. He just menacingly looks at them. I think On might actually be becoming my favourite player.
Yeah.
And he's got to contend with Bin. Like, he's got to contend with Jackie but he's doing it. Even in the 0-3 games, the man's just got sheer swagger.
The fact
Crab
that he does it
taken.
with the emote as well. I'm just the emote just makes it for me. I'm sat there like, oh, talking about the high again. I'm sat here talking about the macro of the game, but this dude is just in another dimension. This guy, he's on his own plane of
Just
existence.
pure vibes. Just
So he
pure
flashed out the
vibes.
first one, and then he just stands still.
He does his best tree impression.
Yeah. You know that one pseudo widow in like Gen 2 Pokemon games that just stood there just walking away?
You need the
Just
water
there, you
thing.
need to get yourself like a little watering can to just
Square
see if
gun,
you'll
that's what
move.
it's called.
Yeah, that's the one. Got the name of it.
Yeah. It's literally just Snorlax again though, isn't it? Stolen mechanic. I say stolen, just repeated mechanic. You gotta get the Pokeflute to get rid of the Snorlax. You gotta get the Square Gun to get rid of Sudowoodo. Come on, Pokemon, innovate a little bit. No wonder Palworld succeeded.
You know, the thing is, they actually did do a little bit of that innovation over the, decades they've existed beyond that point, but hey, whatever. Who's keeping track, right?
A lot of people is the answer to that question. A lot of people are keeping track of that stuff. You should see Twitter when Pokemon comes up. Good lord. It is, it's an absolute knife fight out there. Speaking of knife fights, I don't know where I'm going with this one. We're not seeing any fighting. I wanted a knife fight. We might have a knife fight in 3 minutes when Drake comes up. There we go. There's the segue. No, you okay?
Hey!
He wants a knife fight now, and it's a stab into the heart of On.
Well, you can try standing still for that one. Don't think it'll work out as well. Yokai nails the tree this time. It's going to be the support down. No Maokai ult now to kind of fend off the siege. One charm for one bad. It's a bit of a trade.
This is a game of League of Legends of all time. That is for sure. Shui takes a chunk here from Shun. It's 4v5, but that'll never stop BLG. We've seen that a million times. More than willing to contest in those situations. Baron up on the map. Ultra Prime, they did get the pick onto On, but he's back on the map at this point. And he's Maokai, so he can influence these fights from quite a way away.
If they spot these resets, that's going to open... Wait, they spot them resetting. There's actually a chance that they could start towards the Baron as well, because Bin is with them, and Bin is a good amount of damage onto the Baron. That's exactly what's happening. Ultra Prime are not going to be able to get a clean reset. They have to contest them.
Gold is basically even. The roots come out from On. This is going to be Baron taken. Can they find the fight for Ultra Prime? I mean, BLG just run at this honest again. But honestly, this time, it was actually for something. Elk dodges the charm, trying to get the resets off, and I think they will be able to do so now. A tier 1 in the mid lane, it's not enough of an answer.
Yeah, it's really going to be a bit of an awkward moment, because now it means that it's going to be harder to kind of group up and force BLG to wave clear and stop Bin being in a side lane. They're going to take themselves eventually the mid-tier 1. But it's very difficult now to try and play just around mid lane and just wait for Doggo to scale, because you have an unholy fed Jax on the side lane who's going to be with 6 grubs, with a Baron buff, with no one able to contest him, potentially threatening to run the turrets. I
mean, he's 50 CS up in that top lane. Massive lead in the jungle as well for Shun. The shining light right now for Ultra Prime is Doggo on the Smolder. 4-0-0, 650 gold bounty. 2 items already, looking towards a third. He maybe could have got the third if he was able to reset before that Baron fight kicked off. He's still not been able to head back to base. And in fact, he's actually just going to walk back to base. Look at him on the minimap. Walking all the way to the fountain as BLG take a tier 2 in the mid lane and move up towards Bin top lane. Another... They just can't recall. You're not allowed to recall this game.
Like, so much of this is about these long-range Kaiser W's from Elk stopping this from ever being a contest. You've got a Smolder coming in to try and wave clear as well. It's a bit of damage down. Yokai jumps forward, doesn't get the charm.
Tiny little chunk on tonight there, but BLG walk away with their lives. Half the tower taken in the bottom side. On. Nearly getting caught out again. 0, 5, and 0. Do you know, I actually love to see it. I'm just having a great time watching this game. The fact that On can sprint it in the way that he is and BLG can still be winning is just something else. Shun now getting caught out, goes into the Dragon Pit, chased down here. A